Well, hello everyone. I'm Rob Chiarolli and welcome to this Wisdom of Hindsight business webinar by Two Wise Heads. It's a collaboration between me and Paul Thewlis, who today will introduce us to the engineering of building an internet marketing machine. Hi, Paul.
Hi Rob, and hello everyone who's joined us this morning or this afternoon now. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen in. I think you'll learn a lot from today's webinar on building an internet marketing machine. I built my first internet marketing machine over 6 years ago, and it enabled my company to sell online products with an individual item price of around $400,000 each.
Well, that's a big sale for online purchase, Paul. You normally associate online sales with much lower cost items.
Yes, Rob, I raise that because I think that many businesses don't think internet marketing is relevant to them. But whether you're selling $2 products on a short sales cycle, or $400,000 products on a long sales cycle, whether you're selling direct to customer or selling through a distribution channel, or whether you're providing any type of services really, internet marketing can be relevant. You just have to think through your business model and design an appropriate internet marketing system for that.
Okay, so there should be something for everyone in today's webinar. In our promotion, we talked about engineering marketing being more important than creativity. Can you explain why?
Yeah, I think our image of marketing in the past has been of some guys hanging out at a creative agency, dreaming up brilliant ideas for TV or print ads. And in small business, we've watched what corporates do and tried to emulate their approach. More recently, this sort of brilliant idea concept has moved to coming up with internet viral marketing campaigns on YouTube or other social media. This type of marketing success is very visible, but it's hard to replicate. And frankly, I often think that the post-success explanation of the events which led to the campaign are different from what really actually evolved in the first place. The reality is that much of the corporate marketing attention now has moved to trialing, testing and tuning of internet marketing systems where it's easier to control the outcomes. In effect, it's an engineering exercise.
Okay, so how do you engineer then a successful marketing system?
Okay, so what you start with, Rob, is imagining your marketing system is like a production line, like our car production line that we can see here, with a number of separate stages. Each stage has to work effectively to achieve the outcome you need. If one of those stages, say in the middle of the line, is running slow or stops, then the whole line comes to a halt. It doesn't matter how well all the other stages are working. The line is only as fast as the slowest stage will allow. If you use this analogy for business marketing, what we find is that the majority of businesses focus on getting one or two stages working, but because they have no focus on the other stages, the whole marketing process fails or underperforms. In most cases, businesses realise the process has failed, but don't know where the problem has occurred. And they tend to blame the part that is working without realising it's the other stages that they haven't considered, which is causing the problem.
Okay, so the analogy seems clear enough, but the picture you're showing us is one of an old car production line. What does an internet marketing machine look like?
Okay, so here's a diagram representing what one would look like. It's made up of a number of interlocking components which don't actually work in a straight line way like the car assembly line. So it can be hard to show this as an easily digestible diagram. So what I'm going to do is to break this machine into its various components so it's easier to understand.
So it seems to be, seems like a lot of moving parts. I think breaking it down is actually a good idea. So where do we start, Paul?
We'll start with what I call the core of the machine, and that's the business's website. In this website, we're going to have various public pages which contain service or product information that's relatively static. It may or may not include a shopping cart system. We might have a private login section for members or clients, or our distribution channel if we have that type of business. We'll have a blog which will publish news and articles. Finally, we'll have some specific landing pages for advertising campaigns, which we'll discuss later.
And you're going to use WordPress to build this website, I see.
Well, I put the WordPress logo there to remind us that we need to decide on what web development platform or software we're going to use. At Web Intelligence, we use WordPress for various reasons, but there are other choices such as Joomla, Drupal, and etc. I'll be covering this sort of development area in more detail in an upcoming webinar.
Okay, so where to next, Paul?
Next, we're going to talk about sitting on a couch watching TV with your mobile phone in your hand, searching on Google while you have a perfectly good computer sitting on a desk somewhere else in the house. I don't know if you do it, but I certainly do. It seems to be a reality of the day of Google searches nowadays. This is, and that reality is that mobile phones and tablets are being extensively used for search for products and services from the home or the workplace. If your site is hard to use on a mobile phone or a tablet, then people who visit your site will just move on to the next site, one that's easier to use. You must have a web design that suits mobile.
And I guess needing to use the zoom feature on your phone doesn't count as easy to use.
Yeah, spot on, Rob. Now, let's move on to a really important part of the machine, which is often overlooked or done poorly, and that's lead capture. It's not good enough to provide information about your products and services and passively sit back and expect people to call or email you. What people will do is say, okay, I've worked out what they have to offer when they visit your website. Let's keep looking to see what else is available. Chances are they will either forget which site they visited, and that could be yours, or they will keep going until they get a compelling offer from someone else, which you failed to give them in the first place. A compelling offer isn't limply inviting them to join your mailing list. Like, who do you know wants to be on another mailing list just for the fun of it?
All right, so we've got the message about what not to do pretty strongly. What do we do, Paul?
You have to make an offer of something in exchange for their contact details and their opt-in to a list. It needs to be a why wouldn't I type of offer. I generally prefer a free information offer on a topic that they have been searching for. So, for example, when I was marketing investment property, we offered a free 27-page guide to investing in a specific type of investment property. So looking at our system diagram, we have an offer on our website which includes a form to complete. Attached to the form you have an autoresponder that automatically emails the free information back to the client, shown here on the right. So ideally the information from the form goes straight into your CRM, that's a customer relationship management system. A well set up CRM should also be able to link to your website to enable you to keep data on visits and activity by people you have recorded on your CRM. This can be very effective knowledge for your sales and marketing teams.
Well, that's great if you can get them to the site, but how do we get them there in the first place?
Yeah, fair enough, Rob. So let's go back to our machine and add what I call the fuel of our machine. That's the content. It's the words, images, and video content that we're going to use to attract people to our page. If it's video content, we can easily put it on YouTube and embed it in the website, and or contact people using YouTube itself, or sorry, not contact, attract them using YouTube itself. Our content can be sliced, diced, and repackaged to be used on the page of our website, in our blog, in our social media, and let's not forget online or offline public relations. Use your content to become an expert in your field with the people that you want to target. So that's even if that's just being a big fish in a small pond. A term I use regularly with my clients is feed the DIY. It's feed the DIY. Most people are searching the internet to find out how they can do something or get something without having to pay someone else. But don't be afraid to use your intellectual property to inform them, because most people who are not professionals in your field don't realise how much work and expertise is involved. Once they find out what's involved, they realise they don't have the expertise or the time to do what you do. So, who will they ask for help? Well, the person, you, who has shared their knowledge and demonstrated their expertise.
Okay, but how do we get people to see the content or our fuel, Paul?
Well, here's the first place to start. It's perhaps the most controllable way of getting our internet marketing machine started. That's email marketing. We're going to use our existing client list, supplier list, prospect list to put together an email list. We send out emails to our list and tell them we have a great new website, but we only do that once. Then you need to bring your blog into play. Each blog post you do needs to be valuable so as to make it it needs to be valuable, and it needs to be done in the sort of shortest possible way that we can. The mantra here is little, regular, often, and valuable. Little, regular, often, and valuable. Now, if you email your list, you tell them about your latest blog. Bring them back to your website whenever you can. You need to remember they will only keep opening your emails if your previous email has been valuable to them. So you might consider segmenting your database and only emailing certain content to certain segments.
Okay, so say we've got that happening, but we want to extend the reach of our marketing, get out beyond the people that we already know. What then, Paul?
So this is where SEO, pay per click, and social media come into play. Let's start with SEO, which is search engine optimization. SEO is about getting you to the top of a Google search. Many small businesses have been approached by companies offering to do this. In the past, some companies have done this by building links to your site by some dubious methods, to be honest. Over the last 18 months or so, this has changed, and Google has changed its search algorithms to sort of stamp out this spurious link building. But some of the people who have used that in the past have suffered over the last 18 months. A good SEO approach is to work out which search terms will help your business and which terms your business has a realistic chance of ranking highly in. Then you optimize the content and the coding of your website to those terms. This work should really be done by someone as they're building the site, really. You then work on building genuine links to your site by reaching out to people you think might be interested in your content. All the while, you need to be looking at what your competitors are doing, copy what they do, and do it better.
This sounds quite technical, Paul.
It can be, and there are lots of tools that can help, but the SEO landscape is constantly changing, and you really do need someone who is up to the state of the art to do this work. It's also something which can take some time to have an impact. So businesses doing SEO need to be committed, and they need to be patient to get the results.
Yeah, so what about those of us in a bit more of a hurry than that?
Well, part of the mix with your machine should be to include pay-per-click advertising. Now, this is an area where many small businesses have been a little burnt. They've tried pay-per-click, which seems simple enough, but it just didn't generate the cost-benefit return.
So what we're talking about here is the Google paid listings at the top and the side of Google searches, and the ads we see on Facebook at the side and more recently in the news feed. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly, Rob. They're very easy to set up, but they're deceptively hard to get right. I've spent sort of many classroom days and sat several exams with Google to get the level of training required to really be able to do this well. But here's where I think AdWords in particular fits in. AdWords being the Google search pay-per-click area. You've just built a new website, and the audio response systems we've discussed earlier are included, but you really don't know if they're going to work until people come to your site. Any website design is a best guess at whether it will be effective or not. So you don't want to wait several months for your SEO work to kick in only to find that your website isn't working as effectively as expected. AdWords can put you at the top of Google at a cost, of course, and generate you immediate traffic to your site. This means you can immediately get a reading on whether your site is working as effectively as you'd hoped, and then you can adjust it if it isn't working the way you'd hoped.
And if it all goes well, you might find that you generate enough business to justify those advertising costs.
True. But one of the big mistakes you'll see is people advertising using AdWords and just sending people to their homepage. Generally, if you're expecting a good result on your advertising investment, you want to design a landing page specifically for your AdWords visitors. This is why I included those landing pages as a separate page in our website core earlier on. But let's move on to social media. This is an area where many businesses have developed a presence, but it's not really been worth the effort. This is because the extent of their social media effort has been to really set up an account page and do a few posts. You need a social media strategy which integrates with the rest of your internet marketing machine. We're going to cover social media in more detail in an upcoming webinar, but here are just a few thoughts for now. Firstly, don't treat your social media like an aerobics class, where you go to your first class, overexert yourself, suffer the muscle pain, and you don't go back in the end. Regular, consistent social media posts that stay on message, not spurious, bits and pieces that you're putting in there, and keeping on your subject area are a preferable way to go. Use your content we discussed earlier and cut it down into small bite-sized bits for social media distribution. My view is your posts on social media need to be driving people back to your blog. A good example of this is a site that I have coming in on my Facebook, The Economist magazine. Their Facebook posts come in very regularly, several times a day actually, and they are pushing people back to their magazine website. What you're trying to do is drive people back to your website, as they do, where you can offer them your products, services, and giveaways that we've talked about earlier.
Okay, so you've got Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter in the diagram there. What social media do you think is best to use?
That'll depend upon what your product or service is, and who your target market is, and how you distribute your product or service. Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn are not the only social media platforms you could use, but generally they're the three you would look at first. Facebook clearly is the largest, has the largest number of users, so you can't ignore that. And there's some great demographic targeting on Facebook as well. Combining all three platforms can be useful. Sometimes you can find a person on one social media platform and reach out to them on another. The key to social media strategies is reaching out to key influencers in your market. There are some great tools available now to identify these people. So what you want to do is identify which social media platform your influencer is on and reach out to them. What you want to achieve is an outcome where the influencer is sharing your information. It's sort of not unlike the internet version of getting an interview on a radio show.
So what's the social media manager, Paul?
There's various software online which enable you to manage your social media activity in one place, so it's all a bit easier to manage and control. Social media is getting busier. There are also social media managers which help which can keep an eye on your actual social media connections and make decisions about when to send your social media post automatically rather than manually, so that more people will see it. There's a lot more we could cover on social media, but let's go back to the overall diagram of the marketing machine. There's a couple of areas I still need to cover. On the bottom left of the diagram, I've added a transaction box. This is a small box for what can be a much more extensive part of the system. But we're focusing on marketing here, but I've added it more as a sort of a postscript, really. Typically, this would involve a payment from an e-commerce shopping cart, but also those in the service industry shouldn't ignore automatic payments and automatic appointment booking. We're implementing an appointment booking system for a client at the moment, which incorporates the credit card system, so you get the whole thing together. Online booking systems can be very powerful because they take bookings out of business hours and get people off their market immediately. You don't let people wait to ring you for an appointment in the morning because they could forget, or worse, they could book with your competition who are providing an online booking system. These systems can also save a lot of administrative time. They have the ability to also integrate in with cloud-based accounting systems as well.
Okay, you had some items around the edges of this machine diagram earlier, which we haven't covered, Paul. So let's go through those.
Yeah. So on the left of the diagram are functions which need to be done to maintain our machine. At the bottom is hosting, which is providing the computer facilities for the website. I strongly recommend that you have the people who built your website manage the hosting as well. That means that if something goes wrong where the site's not working, there's no finger pointing between the different service providers. You know, the web developer says it's not their fault, the hoster says it's not their fault. One company has to have a single point responsibility to make sure the site is operative at all times. Then you'll need to sort of manage the content, the fuel that we talked about. And this is sort of maybe a sort of a new area for many organisations. But as content is our fuel, it needs to be sort of constantly updated and re-edited for use in different ways. Often it's the business owner or manager who does this because they're the sort of holder of the intellectual capital, if you like, of the business. But they're often too busy to get this done effectively or in the end at all, so it falls by the wayside. It may need an additional internal or external resource to operate this sort of side of things. And finally, as we're running an ad campaign with our pay-per-click, that needs to be managed as well. So Google has a system for managing its ads, and so do Facebook and others. So you need to keep an eye on the ads to make sure that they're running cost effectively.
Okay, so that leads us into the last part of the marketing machine diagram, the analytics. I know that's an area that you think is particularly important.
Yes. Analytics is perhaps where the sort of real engineering comes into the story. Analytics is our eyes into the working of the machine. So imagine you're standing at a doorway at the end of our car production line that we were talking about before, and the production line sort of just sticking out the doorway. All you get to see is what comes off the end of the production line. If the product's coming off the end of the production line, well, that's great, but we don't really know if the product could have come out faster or cheaper. If the product's coming out faulty, then we have no idea what's going wrong. It's the same for our internet marketing machine. Many businesses have a basic Google Analytics set up for their website, but they commonly don't look at their analytics, or if they do, they don't really understand what it's saying. This is the equivalent of standing at the end of our production line, as I've described. Too many business people say the internet's not working for their business or it's not relevant, but in most cases this is because they haven't really analysed what they've been doing. a good engineering approach is to measure everything that's happening, including testing new parts of the system you add to optimize the performance. And that's way more than just sort of putting a bit of analytics code on your website. Each component of our machine can be measured, and each piece of content we use can be measured for its performance.
So how can people contact you if they have any further questions about the content or the workshop you're running?
Okay, so our contact details are on the Two Wise Heads website, and you'll see on the slide that's showing at the moment my email address and Rob's also. So I look forward to hearing from you all. Thanks.
Excellent. Yep. So thank you all for listening in today. May all your business decisions be wise ones.